Oh boy, that's the last time I ever go to GameStop. This isn't a Wii remote. Oh, hi! Welcome to Should You Buy It, where I help you decide whether or not a game's worth your time and money. Today we'll be looking at Sonic Mania for the Nintendo Switch. I've had early access to this for a few months now, and I've really gotten a chance to play the shit out of it, so let me just cut to the chase and tell you that this game is not worth your time and money.
I mean, just look at how phoned in this gameplay looks. It's as if somebody just took stock green screen footage of Sonic on YouTube and threw backgrounds together in like 30 minutes.
Cameron, wait! Stop the video! The Sonic Mania you've been playing this whole time is a bootleg.
What? But I uploaded the trailer to the channel like 9 months ago. Do you mean to tell me it was a fake? I would never do something like that.
It sure was. Now play the real game, you dumb bitch.
Well, I guess I've been bamboozled. Stay tuned and I'll tell you whether or not the real Sonic Mania is worth your time and money. Start it.
To say that Sonic's had an inconsistent track record since Sonic 3 and Knuckles would be like saying that I have a small pee-pee. Everybody knows, and we don't need to keep talking about it. But in my defense, my peck is probably at least bigger than Sonic's. I mean, maybe at least. Anyway, also like me and my pee-pee, Sega doesn't know when to quit flaunting their mascot. There have been a few good games here and there, but for every good Sonic game, there's at least 2 bad ones to follow it up. Even though I love Sonic, the good games I've referred to are usually, well, just good. I know some Sonic fans might get pissed to hear me say that, but if you compare the best modern Sonic games to a series like Mario, which has always been the comparison, it doesn't really hold a candle. But hear me out, I only say that because I love the blue blur. When I was a kid, I even shit on the carpet while playing Sonic 2 so I didn't have to stop. I wish I was kidding about that, but sadly it's true. As great as Sonic can be when Sega tries, even their greatest efforts are at best very good and abysmal at worst. So when the trailers and gameplay for Sonic Mania were revealed, I was excited but kept my hopes relatively low. And after finally playing Sonic Mania, I can say that this game smashed my expectations and delivered what I honestly think to be the best Sonic game ever made, and I'll explain why. As soon as you start the game up, we get a badass animation in the style of the classic 90s Sonic, which is where I think the series should have never departed from. I just think it's more suitable than some of the more serious tones some previous games have taken. Everything about this game feels like the classic series. Previous Sonic games have incorporated 2D elements, but with 3D sections and, well, loose controls. 2D Sonic games always controlled best on the Genesis, and ever since Mega Man 9 returned to its retro style, I've wondered why Sega didn't do the same thing for their blue mascot. While I do appreciate nostalgia, that's not why I wanted a Genesis-styled Sonic game. The main reason's always been because of how tight and reliable the controls used to be. And while this game does have Genesis graphics and sounds, it's in full HD and upgraded enough to where it doesn't look and feel lazy. Not to mention the music's absolutely perfect. I think of Sonic Mania as an HD remake of a 2D Sega Saturn Sonic game from an alternate universe. This was the next logical step for the series to take, but with everybody in such a rush to make their games in 3D, we never quite got a true 2D successor to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I know there's the Sonic Advance series and other 2D games after that, but those didn't have the same physics and felt like they were remade from the ground up. And Sonic Mania has more than just the classic physics down. The foundation that the Genesis Sonic games laid out were greatly improved upon by this new development team. And I've got to give Sega credit for being cool enough to trust fans and make a new Sonic game. In case you're not aware, a big part of this game's development was done by Headcanon and Pagoda West Games, who've done great things in the Sonic fan game community. This would be like Sega giving the keys to their Ferrari out to a stranger just because they appreciated the car. But to be fair, Sega's proverbial Ferrari I'm speaking of has been in a few wrecks, so the developers couldn't have really done much to make it worse. While nostalgia is a big part of Sonic Mania, there's plenty more about this game to love. And if you've somehow never heard of Sonic before and played this, you'd still get a great experience and not feel the least bit left out. I love how the story's told with characters just doing things on screen with no words. This is a gameplay-based game, but to sum the story up, Sonic Mania takes place after the events of Sonic and Knuckles and has you traveling throughout time, which explains why you're playing through the classic Sonic stages from Sonic's 1, 2, and 3, and even Sonic CD. If there's one critique I'd have for this game, though, it'd be that the gameplay and design is good enough to not rely on replaying old stages. Granted, the levels are like 95% different from the Genesis counterparts, but at this point, how many times have we replayed Green Hill Zone? The Sonic series should try to reach new people instead of trying to recapture fans from the classic series. And if the game's good, people will love it regardless. You don't see Mario rehashing old stages too often, and when Nintendo does, it's usually later in the game as more of a bonus rather than a selling point. I mean, I can only think of one time where this has happened anyway. The first worlds of Mario games are usually in the Mushroom Kingdom, sure, but they never reuse the same music or level design. Even when Mega Man returned to his 8-bit glory, the stages and bosses were 100% original. I understand why Sonic Mania would do the nostalgia thing, but if they make a sequel, and if Sega's smart, they will, I don't want to see any more retro levels. This series deserves to move forward and not live in the past. Thankfully, the only thing about the old stages are the ideas and settings rather than being copy and pasted from the original games. There's all kinds of added stuff here to make the levels look and, more importantly, play better than ever before. Even the water sections are fun for a change. And none of the bosses are repeated from old games with the exception of the final Sonic 1 boss, but it's different enough to be considered its own thing. While I'm talking about the bosses though, this is another high point for the series. Every stage has a fun boss fight, even though Act 1 scuffles are considered mini-bosses, they're still fun to me, damn it. And just look at this Puyo Puyo battle. Or I guess it could be Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Even though I'm against this game relying too heavily on rehashes, this is pretty cool. I do wish there were new power-ups though. The only new thing is this ring box that makes collecting rings easier once you lose them. And by the way, losing rings looks cooler than ever, and I appreciate the little things. The only thing close to new power-ups are the parts where you're shrunken down, which helps you access certain paths.
Well, now I know I probably have a bigger dick than Sonic. Anyway.
At the very least, the power-ups this game does have are all good and useful, despite only being the onesies from Sonic 3, so I can't really consider it an improvement. But to be fair, they're not a detriment either, just something the next game can improve upon. Although it is cool lighting the oil on fire in the oil ocean zone, and I am glad that the speed shoes are kept to a minimum. In the old games, they were fun to grab as a kid, but ultimately just led to trouble and death. They were more of a hassle than anything. You can go fast enough as it is and can almost outrun the screen still. I haven't been able to completely outrun it, but whether or not you can doesn't matter because I'm having fun trying. In any other game, outrunning the screen would be considered a flaw, but here it's yet another great design choice and a game full of them. I would state that the game rehashed bonus stages from Sonic 3 and CD, but that'd be a little unfair to say. Sure, they're the same general concept in Sonic Mania, but the improvements are so great that I don't even mind. I've always loved the Blue Sphere stages in Sonic 3, but there's way more to it here, and they're well thought out with some being very difficult to figure out. To collect the Chaos Emeralds though, we return to the special stages from Sonic CD, but this time they're actually fun. And just like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the best game in the series up until now, you can play as Sonic, Tails, Sonic and Tails, or Knuckles, giving the game replayability with different abilities between the characters. As everybody probably already knows, Knuckles can glide and climb walls, but runs slightly slower and jumps an ass hair lower. Tails can fly, but I think runs slightly slower, and Sonic's the fastest and jumps the highest, being the standard character to play as. If you choose Sonic and Tails, Sonic's faithful sidekick will collect some extra rings while getting some lucky shots in on enemies from time to time. He can also carry Sonic around with his ability to fly. It makes the game a little easier, but what can I say, I'm not completely against the nostalgia aspect. I just hate when Tails grabs onto you by accident. As far as I'm concerned though, this is Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Not those decent but lackluster attempts from before that were made solely for money. This game was clearly made from the heart by people who love the series rather than with the mindset of, hey, we haven't made a Sonic game this year, so let's try to have one out by December, even if it's not quite ready. I haven't played Sonic Forces, and while I do think it'll be good, I have no idea how it can possibly top Sonic Mania despite having a much larger development team and budget. It's a perfect example of sometimes less is more. Unless Sonic Forces hits it out of the park, maybe Sonic should just stay in 2D games, with Sonic Mania's developers making everything from this point forward. Let's cross that bridge when we get to it though. What else can I even say about this game? After all these years of hits and misses, this is all Sonic games needed to be in the first place. And the fact that it's only $20 makes it a steal. This is the kind of game that's so good when you leave your house to do bullshit, all you can think about is how you want to get home and play it some more. I wish there were a physical copy available, and like many other digital games from big companies, I'm sure we'll get one later on. Which kinda sucks that you'd have to buy a game twice to be like having physical copies and being able to play it on day one. These companies know damn well what they're doing, and that our dumbasses will buy it again if they release it digitally first without mentioning a physical version for later. But be that as it may, even if this game were $40, I'd say it's easily worth your money. It doesn't take very long to complete, but offers plenty of replayability to keep you busy for a long time. If you've never played a Sonic game before, then this is the perfect place to start. And if you don't really care about or even like the Sonic series to begin with, then I still think you should give this game a chance. If you don't like Sonic Mania, then you'll never like Sonic. And if that's the case, then that's okay, but I'm pretty sure anybody would find this game worth $20. If you have Sonic Mania, let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and if you're new, hit the subscribe button. This is Cameron, and I'll see you in 25 years.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.